Of these teams, only seven of the 30 teams in MLS have filled all of their off-budget slots to this point. Connor, I'm sure you know who they are. Why don't you just tell us who they are?
Oh well, it's got to be Red Bull because they always do. Montreal, another team. I I have never seen a Montreal team without multiple designated players in there. So it's got to be them. Red Bull, not Atlanta. They probably have space for like at least five more DPS, maybe a couple of
Mhm.
U22s in there. Miami, I mean, they've probably got a roster full of DPS at this point. Um,
They're setting the new rules.
the Met, I mean, we got the Beckham rules, the Messi rules. I'm sure around the corner.
Yeah, and I'm honestly they'd probably be for the better. But I will tell you, they are Colorado Rapids, FC Dallas, Houston Dynamo, LA Galaxy, LAFC, Miami, and Portland Timbers. So I do want to start off with this group of seven here. Because there's not really a lot to talk about. It's not a lot of fun. They can't do anything more. They are done. They are set. They can sign an off, a TAM player here or there, but really this is the group that they're going to go with. Which group would you say is set up for success, and which group probably should be worried with the roster being stuck the way it is?
I mean, I think LAFC is a very easy one to say that they're set up in a very good shape. I mean, we talk. I think I can't remember exactly. I think both of us had LAFC first in the West, if not first, definitely top three.
Hmm.
And I think that's clearly because they've built the roster very well. And and I think that's even considering the fact that like I don't think Giroud is going to have a huge impact. Like I think who knows how much he's actually going to be playing. I mean, they have a Bobasi now too. Like that's a lot of striker competition. The Bobasi is clearly plenty capable. I mean, he showed it in week one. So, but I like the obviously like Buwanga's a star. I think Cengiz Under is going to be a good addition as well. And then I'm glad they're bringing in all their U22 initiative slots. Although I feel like I remember giving a bad grade for Smolyakov. So, but I mean, listen, I'd rather them use it than just let it sit there and do nothing. So, at the end of the day, if it's available, go for it. I'm glad they are. I think they're one of the better teams set up out of everybody using all the slots. This is kind of like hypocritical for me to say because think I know I put them high and I was also probably pretty high when I was making that decision, but on second thought and looking at the list again, not in love with the Houston Dynamo build. I think Ezekiel Ponce, I think will be a good designated player for them. I think Artur is a great player. I'm not a huge fan of Artur as a designated player though. That feels like a little bit too much. Although they can buy that down. And then the U22 initiative spots, I think a couple in there are pretty solid, like Jack McGlynn. I off the top of my head, I don't feel like I had to look into it a little bit more, but Aliu and Quinones as U22s feels. I'd have to look at the stats again. I really don't want to say for sure, but it feels a little ambitious. So and they lost a couple of key players that I think could have taken up spots like Kadaskia and Hector Herrera. So will be very interesting to see. Every time I bet against Benny Ball, though, I get burned for it, which is why I went with them so high this year. And I really should have thought about it a little bit more, but the roster definitely has like some question marks for me, especially because two of those U22s are also injured right now.
Yeah, dude, Houston in three was quite honestly one of the most ridiculous things you've ever said, and I've done this with you for a
It
long
was not
time.
great.
It was that's
Listen,
next level insane.
I threw it together very fast. Didn't really think about the fact that Kadaskia was gone. I knew Hector Herrera was gone, but losing Kadaskia, I think, is going to be pretty impactful there.
You know what? You know
Plus,
what's
no
funny?
goalkeeper, no Steve Clark.
You know what's funny is the fact that you have put in 0 minutes of research for most of your predictions, and you're probably going to have the best year of predictions you've ever had because that's exactly how you roll.
Our East was almost dead the same. So like
Yeah,
you probably spent time researching. I whipped it together and we ended up in the same spot.
which is just par for the course. So,
It goes to show you work smarter, not harder.
it goes to show you just copy whatever I do. I get it. No, for me, I think it splits into two tiers, right? It's the teams that kind of know who they are, they know who their identity is, they know what sort of style they want to play. That's the LA Galaxies, the LAFCs, the Miamis, right? They know for sure who they have is a solid group. They're not worried about their roster build. They know exactly what they want to do. And then you have teams that are maybe not so great without the wiggle room, right? Colorado, Houston, Dallas, Portland. I don't think they're in the best position to leave themselves without wiggle room right now. Portland's defense is still in shambles. I mean, you saw that they dropped four against Vancouver again, right? Was it four? I think it was four. 9 goals over 2 games against
I'm
Vancouver.
pretty sure it was 4.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
ridiculous. Then you have Houston, who lost two giant pieces in midfield and replaced them with some U22 players, but unproven, right? You got Dallas, who is still not a team that I'm confident with, even with Luciano Acosta heading into the year. And Colorado's hit or miss, right? I think of the four, Colorado might be the closest to being in the next tier of like, okay, they know who they are. But man, it would be nice for them to move on from Kevin Cabral and just be a designated player who can contribute, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a funny one too, because like when we talked with Omir, like Cabral sounded like a great dude, but like he's just not designated player.
No.
Like he should not be taking up a designated player spot. Like he should be maybe a TAM player or not like any designation. I feel like I'm
Yeah,
not
no,
saying like he shouldn't be on the team, but like just not a DP.
yeah, dude, for sure. Like the issue is that his roster, his impact for what his roster designation is does not match, right? And it was very similar with Dante Van Zier at Red Bull, right? Like people who were not fans of Dante Van Zier were like, this guy's not a designated player. Like he's not bad, but he's not producing at designated player level. And there was, some of the players took offense to it. Some of the fans took offense to it. It was like facts are facts, man. Like the numbers speak for themselves, and he's not doing a good enough job, right? And that's kind of the Cabral feel. Could be a great guy, no doubt, but just doesn't produce at that next level.